This is a meeting of Cemetery Commission of the Town of Lakeville, Massachusetts, held this day, August 17, 2021. Members present, Emery Earl, Joe Morton, and Ken Upham. We have two guests present, and Dean
What's your last name? Burgesson?
Burgesson, right?
Yes.
And the other?
Martha Wumbolt.
Martha Wumbolt. Thank you very much for appearing. This is a special meeting, and the reason it's called is because we have a discrepancy within town rules and regulations and also town records. And the discrepancy basically falls upon one issue. And the issue is that Miss Burgesson has presented a alleged deed which was created in 1961. And it was created by a commissioner by the name of Bissonette. So I'd like you to look at that. And then you give it to Mrs.
Is that your deed? Okay.
It was my mother.
Your mother? Okay.
It looks like it, he.
Okay, I'm trying. Now, a letter was given to Ms. Burgesson regarding this issue, and also it looked like from the folder that it was an unpaid balance. So we have since eliminated that letter. That letter is no longer valid. So you can forget that. Okay? And I think Ari told you about that, that's what we're doing with the letter. Forget the letter.
What's this?
The letter that he sent you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ari told you that forget the letter.
Okay.
All right. So, how do we come about this issue to begin with? You recall when you and I met at the cemetery, and you said that, I asked you if you had a deed to the property, and you said, yes, I do. And I said, what did it look like? And these are the deeds that are issued. You have one. The deed you have is like that. But what you have here is totally different. So that was a discrepancy. The file folder shows there was no deed issued. And in that file folder, which I have here, which is in the town record, this is how it was, just like I'm showing you. So in that file record, you have a card that identifies the deceased and where they're buried within the cemetery. And also at that time, they used to mark the card of what it stated. You have copies of this, we sent it to you.
I can't see what it is.
Okay, you want to show it to her? And if you open that in that card and you look at the back of it,
Yeah.
okay? Now, if you look at the front of that card, it says perpetual care, unpaid. You see that?
Yeah.
And you see the annotations on that card?
It said no. It said perpetual care no. But
Right.
then on the other, it is.
Yes, because you paid it on this one. But that, your family never paid. Now flip that card
I
to the...
know my mother always.
I'm
always
sorry?
had- I know my mother always had perpetual care on that.
Okay, do you have a record that perpetual care?
No.
So that is the only thing we have. The only thing we have is the record that's shown in the town offices perpetual care wasn't paid. And that's why we stopped this letter. Because it's really not valid.
Well, I don't think the records were that great because my mother's buried there, but you don't even know where she's buried.
Absolutely. Know why? Because the family didn't give us the records. When the family has a burial, let me follow through with this. When a family has a burial, you have a funeral director. And a funeral director handles all your issues regarding the burial permits, the interment documents, and so on and so forth. So we never received that from a funeral director. And you can tell by that card. Could I have that folder back, please? So we're showing here, you said this, on that property, if I remember correctly, is one barrel, and one barrel. There's 3 barrels, 3 full-body barrels.
No.
That's what she said?
Oh,
There are three bumped
oh,
down.
yes, but not on the paper.
Not on the paper.
No.
No.
So again, it goes back to, we weren't notified. And I understand,
Well,
and,
somebody put Avis Wombolt on it.
I'm sorry?
Somebody put Avis Wombolt right here,
Yeah?
and nobody put a number.
They didn't put where she was buried, correct. So I'm not blaming any of this on you or the family. I'm saying this is part of the town records that were remiss in doing what they were supposed to be doing. But that is notwithstanding the fact that the records that we have show there was no perpetual care paid on this property. And the folder does show that there was perpetual care to be paid. So, this is not the only one. I have another issue the same way. Same exact issue with a different party. So what we're here today to find out why I called a special meeting, it's not fair for you, as a surviving person for this, to be stuck with a bill like that. And when Ari called me, I said to Ari, sure, I'll explain what the situation is. And I hope you understand that I'm an elected official of this town. I don't respond to anyone.
Except for the people.
To the people that, yes, to
Yes.
the people that elected us. That's him and I. So when Ari called me, as a courtesy, I went over the issue that we had. He was fully fine with it, and I said I would get back to you. So the other issue that's been brought up on your file is this. Massachusetts general laws. Do you have a copy of that cemetery rules and regulations? Okay, did you look at number 3?
Well, I mean, I've got the one that was stapled to my mother's deed.
Okay. So you sent me a letter, and in that letter you stated that you, lot number 6, section B, in Priest Cemetery, she passed away. My sister Martha Womble and Nadia Burke is in our here. So, okay. According to Massachusetts law, I can only have one. Do you remember I discussed this with you at the cemetery? That you have to get with your sister and decide who is going to be a representative of this plot?
I don't recall that.
Okay. But I do need that. So
Okay.
it's up to you both to decide which one of you are going to be the person that's going to be answering for this plot. And that's not me, it's Massachusetts law. I can
Okay,
say- I can-
so say it's me.
I'm sorry?
Say it turns out to be me. I'm gonna be the one.
You are?
And then
Okay.
I die.
I'm sorry?
And then I die.
She comes up
Automatically?
automatically.
Or does she have to write another letter?
And the reason for this is, there's not just one person. She's in a very difficult, or not difficult, but different situation because both parents have passed away, right?
Yes.
But she went ahead on this other lot that she has, and on that lot, she shows her sister and herself. On this one,
Her other sister.
right. So when her sister passed away, she became the rightful owner. There's no one else.
Okay.
But the law states that if there's more than one person left in a family that are heirs, then one person should be identified as the person that the cemetery commissioner or whomever needs to contact for future burials or anything to do with the plot or lots in this case. So that letter that I have needs to be adjusted to put just your name if that's what you want. You follow me on that?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
All right. Let's see, you have,
So now what, we gotta do another letter and have it notarized?
yes, ma'am. Yeah, so I'll give you back this one, and
We'll just take my name off. Put it through the-
so it'll be either one of you two. And thank you for the information on, they're gonna put into a file for both deceased. So this is the letter I'll give back to you, and if you would get me a new one.
Oh, this wasn't notarized.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, the paper underneath was with it.
This was the acknowledgement, right, of that?
Yeah, that goes
Why
with
did they do that? Because normally what you do is you don't do this.
There wasn't room enough.
Oh, yes, there is, it's just a stamp.
That's what she said.
I never seen it like that. Because normally what we do, the letter in itself is the official document. You don't need an attachment to an official document, which she did. And they're blocked for the notary
But I think
public.
because she had to fill that out.
Yeah, but it's filled out right there. The block is about this big, and it has a seal on that block, and that generally goes on the bottom of the letter. What you can do is, instead of you paying for this, just go to the town offices and see Lillian, the town clerk, and just say, Ken asked me to come here to get this notarized. And she'll do it free of charge for you.
Well, then give us back that.
I'm sorry?
I don't want in 10 years somebody
Well,
saying, oh, well, you
She is
notarized.
authorizing, let me see, she's saying both of you that have been there. What do you think? What do you think about that?
I think one of you just asked if you would need to write a letter saying one of you would be, like if you own
We're
the
gonna
plot
write-
and
we're gonna-
you passed away, it would go to you, but I
Yeah.
think, heaven forbid this should happen, it would be smart for you to write a letter according to number 3 here and say, my sister passed away and now I'm the owner.
Yeah.
Number
Like we
3
had
right
to
there.
do.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but what I'm saying is.
See, the problem with
in
that
years
is
to
that
come,
it's showing 2 of them.
If he's got.
But when that letter comes back, it's only be one person.
And
Yeah,
then
so-
she passes
So we have to
away,
have
and
it
I pass
redone.
away,
Have that redone,
then
yeah.
Yeah.
there's gonna be some conflict.
Ms. Wamble, do you understand that? Because there's 2 people on here,
And we have this other.
and it's showing 2
paper.
people, but the
Saying
letter
such
that
and
you're
such.
going
That's
to
right,
be
so it's
giving
better
to
if
us
it's just
is
one,
one person.
and then it would go directly to the other one.
So I think it's easier if she just goes to Lillian and have it done there.
Oh, absolutely.
Either that or the town, no.
Is that any difficulty for you doing that?
Oh, I guess not. God, glasses steam up.
I know these masks.
So we get this back and just put
Sure.
Lloyd on it?
No, that is not, for our purposes,
Is
I
it
can't use
presented?
that.
What
Because,
good is it?
I'm sorry,
What good is it?
well, right now for you, it's no good.
Could I see what that is?
It's not
please?
good
'Cause I
for
haven't
us as
seen
far
this.
as a document that's gonna be substantiated by your signature on another document.
So
You're
now-
giving us a total new document. So these 2 things that you have now have no pertaining to the new document that you're gonna be giving us. Do you understand it?
I understand why we gotta do this over, okay, but I don't understand why you have to keep that.
Well, because it has 2 names on it and not just one. That
But it's no
document,
good.
I'm sorry?
You're saying it's no good the way it is.
No, that's good for purposes that you had it before, but for our purposes by law, we need one person identified on one document, and that one document has to be notarized by a notary. So you have a whole new document we have to have.
Yeah, but this here is no good.
Right.
This
Can't
is-
use that.
None of this is good.
Can I see that too, please? Thank you.
You see what I'm saying?
I'm sorry?
Do you see what I'm saying?
But why
Why do you want it?
why do we need that?
we need a new document naming one person as the
Yeah,
owner.
Correct.
And that, it's as
So
simple as
that
that.
is junk.
This is junk.
Yes.
This is no good to anyone.
That's right.
Not good for our purposes.
Well,
So we'll
tear it
just
up.
take it back.
You can flip it, yeah, you can do anything you like.
Yeah, take it
Yeah.
back.
It's not mine, it's your property, so I can't do that.
So just name the same letter with just one of you.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
that's all.
that's all you
understand that.
really need to
Very
do.
simple.
That's pretty
All right,
simple.
so we'll write another one, get it notarized with one,
And then how do we get it to you? Take it to the town hall?
Yeah, you just put it in my inbox. You just give it to the town clerk and she'll give it to me and I'll put it in your file.
Yeah, Lillian will take care
And
of it.
then after this is done, when we get done today, we are going to give you a letter. And that letter is going to state what we discussed basically and the approval that we're going to come to. Such as, I should wait for this letter until I get back one from you. So we have everything encompassed in one letter instead of having 2 or 3 letters going back and forth. Okay, so if you get me that in the next couple of days, I can give you an answer to this. So that brings me to the point. So we're not going to issue any requirement for finance charges or interest fees or anything on unpaid balance. Because 2 things occurred. I went back into the files and Emery asked me not too long ago, he said, I never knew there was a percentage attached to people with unpaid balances. We did that, what was that, what year? Oh, 10 years ago. We do have the paperwork on that. It's in the town records. If you go online, you can find that in the town
I
records.
found it in the minutes.
And it's in
a
our
long
minutes.
time ago.
It's on minutes of the town records, so it's online.
okay.
Does it say that it's gonna be retroactive?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
It does.
How can you do that?
I don't see how that's-
And there's a formula that they
We
use.
went
but-
through the town attorney for that. In addition to that, I made a mistake. I said 5%, I was wrong. And that's why we pulled the letter. It was supposed to be 4.5%. So I made an error. We went back further in records and Joan went through her handwritten records and we found that we did agree to a 5% increase. But I table it pending further action.
The
So when
action
I
was going to
think-
be that we were going to go back and see what there was in the past for a percentage.
Uh-huh.
And it
So-
was 4.5, not 5, so we were going to raise it to 5, but we never did.
Okay.
So when I went back into the records with Joan and we saw that we never passed that, that was further indication that we couldn't send you a letter like that. Because we never approved the 5%. It was only 4.5%. So where do we end up today? And this is what this is all about. How do we go about, as far as the commission here is concerned, how do we go about determining the correct documentation that we accept for a lot purchase by a owner? What do we do when we have something like this that's questionable on its face?
And not in my
Yeah.
mind, that's very clear. That's a deed.
Okay, hear me
Okay.
out. Who signed that?
Elitas Bissonette.
Where is the certification documentation stamp for it, like a town clerk would do? There's none.
No, but the language clearly
The
states.
language, okay. So we're saying that the legality of this document is in question. I'm not going to pursue that question. We're going back to 1961. For me to go back and try to find a record, which I have been trying to do, I was with the town clerk mostly yesterday morning, going through the old town records to determine the legality of this document. I found nothing. So at that time, I don't have any reference to any meetings that can say that this person has the authority to sign a document like this. So we have to put this in abeyance. We have to take this at face value and say this is factual. So we're saying as far as the law is concerned, this is a legal document. That being the case, it comes back now to the next issue. The file folder that we have that I just showed you shows that there is a balance on this. And that balance would be, according to the file folder, perpetual care. So perpetual care being the balance here, rather than owe us $1,875, I am proposing that we charge you $200 for the perpetual care balance that has never been paid, with no interest. Because it's not your fault that your parents didn't pay perpetual care. And it probably is the fault of the town, whoever was doing this, that they didn't notify you there was also a perpetual care payment. They gave you a document showing only the lot. But also, in our history, perpetual care always goes with that, as you know, and you just stated, like this. Perpetual care is always attached to a lot because the town has to maintain it. And you agree you paid perpetual care on this one, $600 I think you paid on this one? No, $550. So she paid $550 for that one. So you have the same amount of lots, and yet it's gonna be half the price of that, $200. And so my proposal is that we say, in this case, do not enforce any percentages on any unpaid balances, including the $200, and let this ride as it is with ownership transfer to Nadine, to
Whatever.
you, and for the payment of $200. And that also goes with this other party that I have here.
Can I
And for the
see that?
purpose of this
This-
meeting,
No, the deed that he says it's not a deed. Not
Oh, the other one.
The other one, my mother.
There you are.
we have, for the purpose of this meeting, this is the same situation on another party, but I want to bring names into it.
Uh-huh.
But I can show you that after.
Now, why can you go back retroactive? Because you say so, because you're the head honcho here?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How can you go back to retroactive on people? You said it was passed in 10 years ago. Okay, so 10 years ago was not 1961.
No, 10 years ago?
Yeah,
No,
I said it's
2010,
not.
right?
Yeah, so why can you go back to retroactive to 1961 when the law didn't pass until 10 years ago?
What law are we speaking of?
Well, you're saying that we
Oh,
can
the
go,
4.5%.
yeah,
Oh, we did that,
10 years ago, you said.
10 years ago, yeah, we did
And
that.
they said it would be retroactive.
But what, I mean, is
I don't
that right?
understand, I don't understand how you go back 60 years.
I don't understand what you mean.
Is that right
Was
to
the
go
commissioner
back on
on?
somebody
I don't know.
that many years after the
Sure.
law or the rule passes 10 years ago?
If you look at the Cemetery Commission rules and regulations, you'll find in there that the cemetery has the authority.
That's what I mean.
Sure.
You have the authority, but
Right.
why did you do this to people?
You sound like that, yeah, I'm doing something wrong, but I don't understand.
Well, I mean, the people that you're going after
Yeah.
are old people.
Okay, like me.
Well, you said it.
Yeah, the problem that bothers me is waiting until someone has a burial
Yeah.
and then
then
shaking
we
down the
find
family
out
for money.
We
And
would
what
never
I think has
notify.
happened, that nobody has gone through these records, so nobody
So
knows
I think
until they
that's
take the
something-
file out.
That's something that should be done.
What do
Go
you-
through the records. If there are heirs that own money, they should be approached before they're in crises.
I mean, but
There was never, ever a bill,
never a bill.
never a bill.
Our mother was
I mean,
buried,
if
our
you owed
nephew was
taxes, they'd be ready to take
your
your
property.
property.
I have that empathy for you, that yes, I do know that, but also too, I wasn't here during that time. Things are done totally different today. We have computerizations on our documentation. Emery just said something that we should go back into the file. We have a current board that shows who hasn't paid what. In this case, the only way we found out about it was that you came forward. and you and I met, and you said, I like to put 2 cremations there. By the way, I authorized the cremations. I didn't stop any burial. Is that true? I told you, go ahead. And you told your granddaughter or your niece, would you want to just keep it at home?
No, she's the one that said
No,
that.
because you said
Okay, but
no
I
one
gave-
can be buried here
But
until
Emery is
this property
Emery is
paid
just
for.
saying that I kind of held back a funeral. I didn't hold back any funeral.
No, I didn't say that, don't
All
put
right.
words in my mouth.
All right, so maybe I
But still,
misunderstood
why,
that one.
after my mother passed away, and then my nephew passed away, why wasn't it brought up then?
Again, we weren't as diligent then as we are today.
When did they pass away, by the way, for my own
It's
My
in a
mother
book.
died in
Info.
86.
Matt was in 84 and my mother was in 86.
Okay.
So
I mean,
if this was the case,
the rule about nobody can be buried unless everything's paid up.
these rules and regulations have been out for a while.
So-
And it says about, on the rules and regulations where, on my mother's thing, it said no one can be buried unless the thing is paid for. So how could they be buried?
Without being questioned.
Nobody questioned it.
No.
Nobody
That's the thing,
questioned it,
nobody
but I
questioned
think,
it.
I think what Ken is proposing today is fair and just, and I'm very pleased that we aren't gonna have to charge you interest for something your parents possibly didn't pay for. The perpetual care is something that, I mean, the $200 is what the fee is anyway, so that's really nothing.
That's
And-
what it is now?
Yeah, isn't it?
No.
Oh, it's more now.
Oh, if you pay perpetual care on 8 lots, it's $2,400. $2,400. We're saying we're giving you all your lots, but $200 perpetual care, instead of going and saying it's gonna be $2,400.
Which was $200 when the lot was bought.
But
Yeah.
again,
So it
I'm not
just-
holding you, either one of you
That's what it
responsible.
was when the,
When the lot was
That's
bought,
what the cost was
$200.
when it was
Yes,
bought.
that what it should have been paid originally was $200. So what we're offering is just the original, what should have been paid by
So if
whoever
you-
bought the lot,
If
which
you
would be
take
my
it from
mother.
the records that we have, perpetual care back in 61 was $25 per lot.
so,
You have
on
8.
Yeah.
That's $200. Your lot's worth $10,000. So the
So, you know, if you
motion's
look
to-
at this deed from 1987, the perpetual care was $550 in 1987, so it was $200 in 1961, so it continues to go up.
But now, once you pay perpetual care, that's it for the, forever.
That's it.
Yeah,
But I also thought on those rules and regulations that it said that no lot could be purchased without perpetual care.
Never heard of such a thing.
It's not on that?
It's not on the
No.
rules and regulations?
No. It says, I think the second paragraph, perpetual care will be paid. You're a speed reader, you're
I'm a
supposed to have
speed- I'm
done that
speeding.
already.
But I thought on that, it said that nobody could be buried unless the plot was all paid
By the
for.
way, you're not the only one. We have another issue just like yours,
Yeah,
and I have the folder here, but
We
it has
heard that.
nothing to do with you, so we're not gonna discuss these people.
It says, "No interments will take place before payment of all fees to include perpetual care, if applicable, a burial permit and a death certificate to accompany an interment order are completed."
yeah, there it is.
But there was complete, obviously perpetual care on this lot, because it says right on the original card.
You see, the document you have that you say there's a deed, I call it a transfer of property. But whatever way we call it, it still says you only paid, not you, but your parents only paid for a lot. They didn't pay for perpetual care. But your card says perpetual care was not paid.
I'm sorry.
I can't.
I'm laughing because these records are so bad. They really
Yeah, I
are.
agree with you. I agree.
Absolutely.
There's no disagreement on that issue at all.
I
It's
mean,
just
I
that
know Mr.
we're
Peabody.
we're here today to fix the issue.
Yeah.
Okay, if we owe 200, then we'll pay the 200, and then we'll get
Okay,
the
wait a minute,
payment.
we haven't voted to do that yet.
Oh.
My motion is on the table to do that, so I haven't heard a reply on my motion.
I make a motion that we accept a $200 payment for perpetual care from these lovely ladies who have a plot at Precinct Cemetery, and if that's acceptable to them.
I second that motion.
Okay,
We're good to go.
it's law now. Okay, so here's now where we go from here, and I'm glad we solved that one. I'm glad we solved it to your acceptance and your approval. We're gonna send you a letter, and that letter's gonna state, but please send me a letter first before I do that, okay? Get me that letter so I can include it into the letter.
Okay.
It will state that upon a cemetery commission meeting on such and such a date, it has been approved that your property will be transferred to you in total with no bills to be paid upon payment of $200.
Okay,
And that ends that one, okay?
yeah.
Can we make up this letter, take it up to Lillian or Senior
Cemetery.
Center or wherever, and
Yeah.
get it notarized?
Yeah.
And how does it get to you?
Take it to
Just
Lillian.
give it to the town clerk,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
and she'll put it in our inbox.
All right, so now we're not gonna run into any more problems here, are we?
I don't have any more problems.
Now, when I die, I
My
can
law
go
is
there?
fine,
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
my law is fine, my 8th grade law.
Okay,
Yeah.
now you
Absolutely fine.
You have 16 grave spaces, full grave spaces, right? And then, what's that? You have 46 cremation spaces, 46. You take your 2 lots in total, right? Your
I
lot,
have an 8th grade law.
you have lot 3, I know, but
You have 8 and the other one has 8. So 3 people are buried there now, correct?
3 in one, 1 in the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
to-
4 out of 16.
Yeah.
So as far as problems are concerned, you have no problems other than you have all these spaces available for you.
Yeah.
And the only thing you have pending, as I know of, is you have cremations that you want to be taken care of. So you can go up and follow up with that. In fact, Emery can help you with that, and he want to be attending your funeral, he can do that. I have no problem. In fact, that's a good thing. That'll be something you can do.
Well, I don't know if she's even gonna bother
Yeah,
now.
now she's talking about not
I don't think she's
doing
gonna
it.
bother.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I don't think my niece is going to bother. I think she's just gonna keep her mother and father.
Well, I think when I spoke to her last, she said because you don't want to do anything right now.
Me?
No.
Yeah,
No.
that's what she's told
No,
me.
she said she didn't want to do anything right now. She was going to keep her mom and dad in the urn, on the fireplace, in the home that they built where she lives.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that's the
Sounds
way,
good.
that's the last I heard.
No, Lee and I, we were busting tail trying to get everything done that you wanted done.
Okay. But again, we're available if you need that, so.
Okay. So now I'm talking about my law.
Your law, you have no,
Right.
your law, you have no problem. This issue's not dealing with your law.
So if I die and I'm gonna, my daughter's gonna bury me, we're not gonna have any situation?
No.
No, but you recall when I spoke to you, I said that seeing you're the last survivor, I would now make a letter to the town, addressed to the cemetery commission. In the event of my death, I assign so-and-so as my holder of my property, including my lot.
Oh, I have to do that?
Yes, how else do we know who it's gonna go to? We're gonna have
Well, I
a...
would think my aunt, my daughter, just like,
But it, again, do you recall, it doesn't automatically go because by law, you have to assign someone. So how many people would be if you passed away? How many would it be?
If I passed away?
You passed away, how many people would be after you surviving relatives?
Just my daughter.
Just your daughter?
No, she has, well, she has a daughter. I don't have any children.
Then that's the only person?
Yeah.
Well, then, you don't have to do it. Because I'm saying that if the case is that if you say you had 3 daughters, then you'd have to go along with the law again, identify one of them to be it.
Okay,
But in your case, no problem.
okay.
Yeah, because it automatically be her property. Now, if it were I would put that in a will.
And put this cemetery in the will.
And the reason I said that is that many times people contest wills. A granddaughter, whoever, son, yeah, you know what we are today, people is unbelievable. But if you have a will that states all my property, my personal property, my real property, to include my cemetery plots, given to my daughter, and then you control that.
Well, then I'll just do one of these letters that you said. That'd be cheaper than having to have my will revised.
It's just that today, so many things, you know. So, ladies, anything else?
Yeah, when do you normally have these meetings? Is it during the day or is it in
No,
the evening?
normally it was, when we had a lot of things going on, it would be the second Tuesday of every month.
What time?
But this
Daytime,
is,
nighttime,
this
or-
is a special meeting. This is a special meeting only to address this one issue. I can't address any other issue at this meeting.
No. No, but I mean, when is the normal meeting?
Normally, second Tuesday a month, if we have one.
What time?
So as an example, if anybody wants to call a meeting, Joan wants to call a meeting, they can call a meeting anytime.
All of our meetings so far have been in the
Zoom-
morning.
And they've all been Zoom lately.
Yeah.
They're usually at 9 or 10 o'clock. Oh, 10 o'clock because the library opens at 10.
And that's because they open at 10.
How come you do that when all the people in the town are working?
Oh, I didn't hear that.
When people are working, what do you do at that time when
Well,
people?
well, city government doesn't work by how the people work. City government works on a basis of 8-hour day.
Yeah, but people can't take time off from work to come to a cemetery.
Well, that's what
People-
happens. I have to
people-
take, I have meetings in Boston that I have to take time off to go to. They don't give me the courtesy to say, Ken, we'll have a meeting Saturday morning when you're available. It's when the town's available, the city's available.
Oh, well.
People really attend cemetery commission meetings.
I haven't had many.
That's why we don't have many people attending
Yeah.
now. Unless there's a specific problem we need to straighten out.
See,
like
normally,
this.
most of these items can be taken care of by correspondence or telephone calls. And this one you can't because it's a special one.
Yeah, we needed to talk this through.
Personally, I like the daytime meetings because I don't drive at night anymore.
Yeah, yeah. That's what happens. when we
Okay,
can't-
Okay, ladies, we're going to continue on with our business here,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
thank you for coming, and I hope you're happy with the outcome.
Pretty good.
Alrighty.
You'd be glad to get outside and take
Yes.
that off.
Drives
Oh,
me
yeah.
crazy. Crazy. Okay.
Hey,
Very nice meeting you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, nice to meet you.
We went to school together.
We did.
Yes. I'm Nadine's sister,
Okay.
Yeah.
Behave yourself.
Martha.
Yeah.
I graduated in 60, what the hell did I graduate?
I was class of 67.
Okay, I was 65. Okay, so you're a little bit younger than me, big deal.
Finally someone who's older than me, 'cause I'm always the oldest, I have a class of 70.
Okay, to continue. That is the first part, so are we in agreement that I'm going to send a letter to, in this case, it's gonna be Ms. Wombo, right? It can't be Ms. Burgess because she has nothing to do with this. So I'm gonna send a letter to Ms. Wombo, identifying what we discussed today.
I thought it was, no, I thought you were gonna send it to Nadine.
She doesn't own that property. Because remember the letter she just showed us? Nadine owns that one.
Okay,
And Miss Wombo family owns this one, which is Nadine is part of the family, but
Yeah.
she's gonna be giving it to her sister.
oh, okay,
I think
Right.
Martha said she was gonna be the one whose name was on it.
yeah, okay.
That's what I
So we
understood.
sent a
Yeah.
letter to Martha.
Yeah, all right, fine.
All right, so I'm gonna send a letter to Miss Wombo, identifying what we discussed, and that, before I send it, I'll send you a copy.
Thank you.
It'll be a draft, and then you both chop on that and tell me if it's okay. Okay, so this one is another family. Same exact issue. And
Have they been informed? Of does the family know about the situation?
oh yeah, I sent them a letter, but that letter's gonna be circumvented too.
Same thing,
Same thing,
Same thing.
same lady.
yeah.
Okay, so on this one, Rick put up this letter, they owed $1,800, we're ripping that up too. So I'm going to, with their permission, I'm going to notify them that with the cemetery commission meeting today, we have determined that they owe us $200, not $1,800,
Excellent.
okay?
Yeah, I very much approve of that.
All right,
It's the
I
moral thing to
mean,
do.
truthfully, it's not their fault.
It's not their fault, no.
no, it isn't. I never said it was at any
Right.
time. No. All right,
That deed is the same day as the other one, I think.
yeah,
They're
Wow,
both I think they're both September of 61.
so they're both 61, both 61.
so things were not being done exactly correctly in 61.
Now, that's something
9 September
told.
61.
that's nothing to do right at the moment. Okay, if there be nothing in addition to this special meeting, nothing else, make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
Approve.
Okay,
Meeting is adjourned. Next meeting will be
As determined.
undeclared at the moment.